On today's episode of Empowering Women in Real Estate, the podcast, we have part 4 of our systems series all about visibility.
Hi, I'm Karen Cooper, a wife, mom of 3, real estate broker, team owner, and founder of Empowering Women in Real Estate. As a realtor, I've personally helped well over 700 families in my career, and now I help thousands of women from all across the country balance real life and real estate through daily inspiration, motivation, and actionable plans to increase their success. Listen in as I share stories and tips from my life and business and interview some of my favorite people.
Hi there. I'm glad you're here for today's episode. So this is part 4 of our systems series, all month long. With each new episode release, I have been covering a different system. There are 5 core systems that I really firmly and truly believe that every single real estate agent needs in their business. And I have been covering them one at a time. So if you are needing to catch up, or this is the first episode in the series that you have heard, if you go back and start with episode 372, which is kind of crazy to think that we have that many episodes, go back to episode 372, and there I really talk about why systems are important. I talk about the 5 different systems and kind of, where it can give you more freedom in your business. And then with episode 373, we have part 1, which is prospecting. Part 2 is episode 374, and that is your nurture system. Part 3 was episode 375, and that is your follow-up system. And now today, here we are with your visibility system. And here's what visibility means to me. Visibility means showing up in your business every single day. And when I say every day, I mean like Monday through Friday, or, for me, what I do now for my life, my schedule, Monday through Thursday is my proactive work days. For you, it might be something different, but showing up every day in my business. Now that doesn't mean like showing up at an office or, things like that. It means showing up in your business for your business. And so for me, that's a couple of different things. It's showing up on social media. I mean, that is really the big one. I wish social media existed when I started in real estate 23 years ago. The social media for us back then was print ads. That was the closest that you could get to what we experience now with social media. And of course, it was nothing like that, right? Because print ads were local, papers were local, regional, and you didn't get the reach like you get now with social media. And they were so expensive. I mean, for years, I spent literally thousands upon thousands of dollars, and they worked. They worked amazingly well then. But then, social media came on the scene, and gosh, what a blessing. It's been a blessing and a curse, because I think you get stuck in the scroll and you start comparing, and that can turn you upside down. I know that happens to me. It probably happens to you too. It also is a huge source of distraction. I mean, how many times, this happens to me all the time, I pick up my phone because I want to go look for that post that I saved because I'm looking for an idea for something, or I need to send a message to somebody. And it's like almost instinctively, reflexively, like I open the Instagram app, or I open the podcast, the Facebook app. And then before you know it, like 30 minutes have gone by and I never did the thing that I originally picked up my phone to do in the first place. So, it can be a challenge from that perspective, but also you can reach hundreds, thousands, millions of people on this app all across the country, in different countries. I mean, it's really kind of unbelievable what you can do. And when you can harness that well and appropriately and correctly, it changes everything for your business. Social media has been a big pillar of my business for 10 years, if not more. And when you can embrace it, and listen, I've heard all the reasons for why not. I've believed them some myself, in the beginning. Well, this is my fun place. I don't want to mix personal and business, on and on and on. And finally, I just came to realize that, especially the way I do business by relationships. I build relationships with people, and social media is a big part of that. People want to see what's happening in my world beyond the last house I sold or the listing that I have coming soon. If somebody isn't interested in buying or selling a home right now, and all you're posting is coming soon and just sold and just listed and whatever, that's not very interesting. And they're not going to want to stick around and be a part of your world because that's not interesting to them right now. But when they can see that you enjoy your coffee outside every morning just like they do, or you like taking your dog for a walk just like they do, or you like going to your kids' lacrosse game just like they do, it enables you to connect and to stay connected. And the relationships that I have made and nurtured and expanded because of social media, and because I was willing to put myself out there, and because I was willing to show up, has just been absolutely amazing. And so we can't have a visibility system without talking about social media. And you don't have to be on all the platforms. I'm not on all the platforms. Listen, I've started and stopped LinkedIn. I can't tell you how many times. I have completely disabled my account. Then I had a VA that was helping me once, and then she started the account and she ran the account. It's been years since I have logged into LinkedIn. I don't even know if I still have an account over there anymore. I can't be in all the places all at once. And yes, I know that there are scheduling things, and I could take my stuff from one place and move it to another place. And there's things that will do it automatically in AI and virtual assistants and whatever and whatever. But I like a human touch. And I think a lot of people do too, especially now with AI, and there's so much questioning. I feel it. I'm sure you feel it. You see things on social media and you don't think it's real. You don't know what to believe because you're not sure what's real and what's not. And I prefer human touch with my social media. So for me, that means I can't be everywhere all at once. I set up a Threads account. I haven't logged into it since like that first day that I set that up. I'm not on TikTok. Facebook and Instagram are my two places. I like them both. I kind of have different ways of posting or connecting. It's rare when I'll do the same post in both places. And to me, Instagram is a little bit more salesy, if you will. I'm able to connect differently, but I also love sharing in my stories the bits and pieces of my day to day, which I also share those to Facebook. You can set that up so it links, so it's easy. Facebook tends to be a little bit more personal for me. Except of course in our Empowering Women in Real Estate group on Facebook, which if you're not there, we just recently hit we have more than 40,000 members in that group. So come join us. So, pick your platform, pick your place that you're going to be visible, and it doesn't have to be all the places, and show up. You got to show up. You got to show up in your social media. The other place you need to show up with visibility, showing up in your business, is by logging into your CRM. Be really honest. I asked this question. I was presenting on this at an event this summer, and I asked the question, when's the last time you logged into your CRM? And there were people who didn't know the answer, because, we think we're busy, but a lot of times we're busy doing the wrong things. And there is nothing more important than your CRM. There is nothing more important than engaging with your database. You need to be logging into it consistently. I log into my CRM every single day. Every single day. I engage with it every Monday when I'm doing my prospecting. It stays open. It's a tab that's open on my computer all week long. And you have to be showing up there. You have to be nurturing, engaging, touching, looking at, updating all the time. The other place you need to be visible is with your community. And community can mean a lot of different things. For me, community is kind of two things, right? One, for me, obviously a huge thing for me, community, is women in real estate, empowering women in real estate. I started the community over 11 years ago, which has expanded into all sorts of things. This podcast that you're listening to, my book that published last year. We have monthly meetups in cities across the country. We have our Inner Circle group coaching program. We have our Midlife Real Estate Blueprint program, our conference that just happened. That's a huge community for me. That's a huge, important, it's my mission. And I engage with that every day. The other thing for me for community is, it's my geographic farm. That's part of my community. And I'm engaging there constantly. I'm frequenting local businesses. I'm sharing local businesses on social media. I'm promoting local businesses with my postcards and my mailers and in my email newsletters and all of those sorts of things. And so that's how I engage with my community. Your community could be something different. Maybe you have a specific hobby and that kind of becomes your community. You create something around that. It doesn't have to be a zip code or a town or a neighborhood. There's a lot of different things, but you need to engage with it if that's where you want to do business. And I think we all like it's a really beautiful thing to do business where you live. Like that's really amazing and beautiful. And it's also infinitely easier. It is so much easier. And so you have to show up. 6 years ago, when I began shifting away from serving clients myself, but still producing a high level of volume and income, I wish there had been a model or a blueprint to follow. And that's why I've created the Midlife Real Estate Blueprint. It's the next step for experienced women in real estate who want to keep the income and change the way they work. Inside this program, you'll redesign your role, install simple, repeatable systems, and create margin for what matters to you while staying highly productive. We have 2 programs now available, a 5-week live program with coaching and community, or a self-paced edition that you can start anytime. When you're ready, visit empoweringwomeninrealestate.com and click on Midlife Real Estate Blueprint. Another thing with visibility is you need to create appointments when you have none. And, there is no reason, if you are serious about growing your real estate business, if you are serious about having a consistent real estate business, that means you have to have appointments. And unfortunately, business doesn't happen when you're sitting at home on your couch, unless you've shifted your business into, ways like I have shifted my business. But if you are actively serving clients yourself, then it doesn't happen when you're sitting at home on your couch. And so if you don't have any appointments to show property, to go on listing appointments, you need to be creating them. And there's literally no excuse not to create appointments. You can preview properties. You can have coffees or lunches with colleagues, with vendors, with past clients, with people that you are just connecting with to get to know about, maybe helping them to list their home or to buy a home. You're visiting new construction neighborhoods. There's so many things that you can do. And the more that you do, that actually helps you to be visible, right? Because all the things that we talk about can all kind of be linked back and the dots can be connected with social media, right? When you're showing a house or you're previewing, you don't have any appointments, you create an appointment by previewing. When you preview, then you can capture content and you can use that content to share on social media. There's so action brings more action and you have to get into action. That's how you get momentum. Like there's literally no other way. And so that's kind of how that looks. So what does that look like for me? What does visibility look like for me, for my business? So there's really kind of 3 things I would say that are my focus from a visibility standpoint. And so one of them, and I've already alluded to this a little bit already, is connecting with my agent community through Empowering Women in Real Estate. And I have consistently it is my habit, it is my routine every morning, 5 to 7 times per week for more than 11 years, I post in our community. Like, I don't even know how to explain. Like, it's just kind of become part of who I am to share something, a quote, a story, maybe talking about our podcast. Maybe we do it. It's our Follow Friday, like 5 to 7 times a week for 11 years. And it's amazing what can happen when you have a habit like that of showing up. And it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be overproduced. It's just simple, heartfelt, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and you just show up. And that's what I do, and that's what I've done. And so that's been a huge thing for me. And if you've heard, if you've been listening to the entire series when I talked about prospecting and I talked about my pillars, one of the big pillars in my real estate business and has been for years is agent to agent referrals. So that makes sense, right? Because I'm showing up I've created this community. I'm showing up in this community every day. And so a pillar of my business, a big pillar of my business is agent referrals. Another thing for me, another habit as it pertains to visibility is my commitment to myself is I show my face. I show my face on social media in my stories every day, Monday through Thursday. And I didn't always used to do that. In fact, I was very hesitant to show my face. It's awkward. It feels weird. It's hard. It's only hard until you start doing it. And then once you start doing it, you realize it's easy and it just becomes a habit. And I don't even think about it anymore. I just know that I'm going to do it every day, right? So I have certain habits, certain things that I do, and it helps me with accountability and it helps me to show up and it helps me to connect with other people. So if you follow me on Instagram, and I hope that you do, my Instagram is I'm at Karen.w.Cooper. I have a couple things that I do consistently, right? So I and for the most part, it's only Monday through Thursday. Some of these things I will do a little bit on the weekends too, but I also have a habit now of putting my phone away after church. Sunday afternoons, the phone goes away, which means social media goes away, and I take that break and I need that break. But for the most part, it's Monday through Thursday-ish. But I start with a good morning every morning. And sometimes it's my view, it's watching the sunrise, it's my coffee and my pajamas, or right now I love, having a sweatshirt on. It's cool enough to have a sweatshirt on when I'm sitting outside with my coffee. That's part of my accountability, like showing up. That's my first little bit of showing up in the morning. People comment on my pajamas. They comment on my sweatshirts. They comment on my coffee. They comment on the view. So it's a great way to engage. I have a habit of, I will show up on my social media by posting my morning mile or my morning miles. I walk my dog every day and I post a picture. I post a picture of the view. Maybe I post me, maybe I post her. But there's something with that. And again, I get people that talk to me about that. I started posting my outfits because, there's a whole thread that I did about this. If you look on my profile, it's saved with a heart. And I tell the whole story about this, about why and just kind of how I've been feeling. And, that's kind of part of the accountability. And so I share that. And then I show my face. I turn on the camera and I talk. And it's usually, here's what's happening today. I usually do it first thing in the morning. Sometimes I'll check in again in the afternoon, but I find that once I kind of knock out these few things in the morning, then I'm just kind of busy the rest of my day. And maybe I'll share a few snippets of things here and there, but that helps. It's relatable. You can connect. And so that is how I show up and be visible. And then one of the things that I do that helps me to accomplish a lot of this as it pertains to the visibility and the social media is I block one day a week with no appointments for my content day. Now, I'm successful with that about 90% of the time. Today is a perfect example. It's a Wednesday, which means it's content day, which means it's the day I record my podcast episodes. But today I actually have had 2 appointments. I was interviewed for a podcast today, and I was asked to participate in a mastermind this afternoon. So, that's unusual for me. But for the most part, most of the time, and I've done this for years. I've done this for, gosh, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. Even before I had the podcast, I would block Wednesdays as a no appointment day to be my content day, to allow me to, work on ideas for social media, work on creating content. I create a lot of trainings. I create a lot of trainings for my team. Conference just happened, team advance, quarterly reviews. There's a lot of content things that I need to create, not necessarily social media content. And so I need to have a day where I don't have the disruption of appointment so that I can really focus on those things. And so you may not be able to take a whole day right now, depending on where you are with serving clients in your business, but you could take 2 hours, you could take an afternoon, but having that uninterrupted time is huge. So that's my system around visibility. That's how I do it. That's how I show up. When it comes to posting on social media, I take a lot of pictures during the day. I don't always post real time because I like to be present with what's happening. So a lot of times I'll just, snap some pictures or a little bit of B-roll or whatever. And then I will come back and then, when I sit down at my desk, I'll spend a few minutes and I'll put together some stories or I'll put together some things. And that works for me. And so I encourage you to come up with whatever works for you, whatever a visibility system looks like for you. And I'd love to hear about it. So come over to Instagram and message me. I'm at Karen.w.Cooper. I'd love to hear about it. And then we're going to wrap up this system series next week with part 5 about protecting your peace. So until then, stay well.
Thank you for listening to Empowering Women in Real Estate, the podcast. Click subscribe to be notified every Wednesday when our latest episode is released, and be sure to check out our group on Facebook.